Samsung is getting ready to make some important decisions with the Galaxy S26 series, and much of the discussion right now is centered on the Exynos 2600 processor. On paper, this chip sounds extremely impressive. It is expected to be the first smartphone processor built using a 2-nanometer manufacturing process, while most competing flagship phones in late 2025 are still likely to rely on 3-nanometer chips. A move to a smaller process node usually brings meaningful advantages, which leads many people to ask a simple but critical question: if the Exynos 2600 is truly this advanced, why would Samsung hesitate to use it across the entire Galaxy S26 lineup? A 2-nanometer chip allows far more transistors to be packed into a smaller space. In real-world terms, this often results in higher performance, better power efficiency, and improved thermal control. For everyday users, this can mean apps opening faster, smoother scrolling and animations, stronger gaming performance, and longer battery life. Even though current 3-nanometer processors are already very powerful, a well-optimized 2-nanometer chip could feel more consistent and stable during long gaming sessions or heavy multitasking. From a technical point of view, the Exynos 2600 appears to be a major step forward and an obvious upgrade. Despite this, Samsung is moving carefully, and that caution comes from past experience, customer trust issues, and overall business risk. For many years, Samsung has used a split chip strategy for its flagship phones. Some regions receive Exynos-powered models, while others get Snapdragon versions. Markets like Europe often see Exynos chips, while the United States and China almost always receive Snapdragon. This approach helps Samsung reduce its reliance on external suppliers and control costs. However, it also created a long-running and often heated debate among Galaxy users. Snapdragon built a strong reputation over time, and not without reason. Older Exynos processors frequently struggled with overheating, sudden performance drops, and weaker power efficiency compared to their Snapdragon counterparts. During demanding tasks such as gaming or extended video recording, Exynos phones would often throttle performance, become uncomfortably warm, and drain the battery faster. For users paying flagship prices, this felt unfair, especially when the difference was based purely on region. Over time, this damaged the Exynos brand image. Even when Samsung made noticeable improvements in later generations, many users had already lost confidence. Once a negative reputation takes hold, it is very difficult to reverse, regardless of technical progress. The Exynos 2600 is being positioned as a fresh start. It is expected to combine the 2-nanometer process with gate, all-around transistor technology. This design offers much finer control over electrical current inside the chip, helping reduce power leakage, improve efficiency, and manage heat more effectively. While Samsung has used this transistor design in smaller chips before, scaling it up for a flagship smartphone processor is a far more complex task. Samsung is also addressing thermal issues at the physical level. A new packaging method known as heat pass block reportedly moves the memory components away from the processor itself. This creates space for a copper heat sink to sit directly on top of the chip, allowing heat to escape more quickly. According to Samsung, this approach could improve heat dissipation by up to 30% compared to previous Exynos designs. If this improvement holds true in real-world use, it would directly target the biggest complaints users have had about Exynos processors in the past. If the Exynos 2600 can maintain strong performance without overheating or aggressive throttling, it could finally prove that Samsung has solved its long-standing problems. So why not deploy it in every Galaxy S26 model? The biggest reason is risk. Samsung cannot afford another high-profile processor disappointment. Many users already feel that recent Galaxy upgrades have been incremental rather than exciting, especially when compared to aggressive innovation from Chinese smartphone brands. In this environment, betting the entire Galaxy S26 lineup on a brand new 2-nanometer chip would be a huge gamble. Manufacturing is another major concern. New chip technologies are notoriously difficult to scale. Even if the Exynos 2600 performs well in testing, producing enough chips to meet global demand is not guaranteed. Low production yields or unexpected delays could disrupt launch schedules and hurt availability. Qualcomm, on the other hand, offers a mature and reliable supply chain, which significantly reduces uncertainty. In key markets like the United States and China, expectations are even higher. Snapdragon is widely seen as the benchmark for flagship Android performance. If an Exynos-powered Galaxy S26 were to perform even slightly worse, online criticism and negative reviews could quickly overshadow the entire launch. This is why Samsung is choosing a balanced approach. By continuing to use Snapdragon chips, especially in high-visibility models like the Galaxy S26 Ultra, Samsung protects its flagship reputation. At the same time, it can introduce Exynos in select models and regions to prove its reliability in real-world conditions. Rebuilding trust takes time. Even if the Exynos 2600 turns out to be excellent, Samsung will likely need a full generation of consistent performance before skepticism fades. Until then, a mixed Exynos and Snapdragon strategy may not be exciting, but it is a cautious and sensible move.